Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint by Sing Shong. Chapter 345. Good and Evil. Part 1. Guardian of the Mandala was a mysterious constellation. Unlike other constellations, he rarely showed up in a channel. Even if he entered, he rarely sent a message. He chose an incarnation and gave the reincarnation attribute to the incarnation. Nirvana in front of me was one of those reincarnators. You don't know how terrible reincarnation is. No more reincarnators should be made. That isn't a matter for you to decide. At the same time, I glanced at Usanga. She hadn't grasped the situation yet and her eyes were blank. Maybe she was examining the context of the conversation in her head. Doesn't this woman already have a sponsor? Not anymore. I asked Dionysus to cut off the connection during Gigantomachia. Is Olympus that passive? How did you pay for the huge probability? I shrugged. I couldn't afford to elaborate on the details of the deal I made with Dionysus. Read it through the wall later. You will read about everything I do anyway. Before that, answer my question. Where's your sponsor now? I was absorbed by the wall and my ties with him broken. I don't know where he is now. Nirvana looked at me and continued. I think you might have suspected it already. In fact, it was true. My question to Nirvana was only to change my guess to conviction. Usanga SSI. Don't worry. These guys, they're not as bad as they look. I couldn't finish my words. There was a feeling of my space shrinking as my body was ejected from the library. The surprised Usanga reached out to me, but my body was already scattering into sparks. Cheek Wai Kim Dok Ja. Those were the last words I heard. Doc SSI still isn't awake? Yes. It has been 3 days already. I slowly woke up and could hear distant voices. Uncomfortable sensations that couldn't be expressed well pushed at me all at once. What should I say? It felt like I was being tortured with electricity. The electric eel doesn't work. What the hell is this? What about Sangauni? Her body suddenly disappeared. Thanks to the faint voices, I roughly guessed what was going to happen. Damn it, I had been unconscious for 3 days. My consciousness returned, but my body didn't move at all. Your actions in preventing the death of your colleague have been caught in a probability plausibility screening. You are currently suffering from the aftermath of the probability storm. For a total of 5 days, almost all your actions will be constrained. Remaining constraints period, 2 days, 3 hours, 31 minutes. I tried to avoid it, but I was caught in a probability storm. It was a miracle that it stopped at this degree of damage. A message has arrived to you through the Dakibi communication. The message came from Baihyung. Kim Dokja, you crazy guy. Do you want to be eaten by indescribable distance again? If I hadn't put on the brakes in advance, a disaster would have come to Earth. You keep getting lucky. Don't you know what probability is? The messages from Baihyung continued for some time. In order to reach the end of the scenario, it was necessary to accumulate the probability well and not be hated by the star stream. Since when did this person have such a nagging personality? At any rate, I let it pass this time, but be careful next time. The will of the star stream is paying great attention to this incident. I didn't know that forcibly breaking some of the fourth wall and sending Usanga in would bring about such backlash. It would be absurd from the viewpoint of the constellations. It might feel like the actor on stage had disappeared. The fourth wall is currently repairing itself. A considerable number of constellations are questioning the probability of your actions. Many constellations are sad because they can't peek at your identity. Several constellations noticed that you have a fragment of the last wall. The fourth wall responded quickly and the damage was minimized. My feet might be tied for a few days, but I saved my mother and Usanga, so it was a cheap price. Of course, in Usanga's case, it was a temporary measure and I couldn't leave it alone. In order to revive Usanga, I had to meet the constellation who was the king of reincarnators and the first reincarnation. It was a little early, but it wasn't too early. From Demon World Spring to Torch that swallowed the myth. I had achieved the initial and success portion of a single story. Thanks to the emergence of me and Kim Dokja's company, the development of the overall scenarios accelerated, and there would be the emergence of materials that should have appeared long after in the original novel. There were many candidates to get the giant story that would fulfill the turn section. For example, there was Ragnarok of Asgard and some giant stories from the Emperor Nebula. Unlike the previous two sections, the turn should be the climax of a single story. It was a scenario of a different scale, based on the stories that had been told so far. Without such a stage, I couldn't reach the desired result. Perhaps using the third giant story as a springboard, the island where the first reincarnator stayed might be a good stage. In any case, I didn't know when it would happen. 3 days had passed, but I still had 2 more days. I wasn't sure how to spend this boring time. If I sacrificed some of the giant stories, I might be able to get rid of the aftermath, but it wasn't good to sacrifice my barely collected stories here. If only I could read Ways of Survival. Kim Dokja. Fourth wall? YLLYOU continue do ing it your own way. Somehow, the voice felt childish. I wanted an opportunity and quickly answered. I won't do it again. Lee AR. There was deep-rooted distrust in the words. I felt a bit sorry, because this was the first time I saw the wall expressing its feelings. Believe me, I really won't do it. Bah. What happened to Yusenga SSI? Is she doing well? No matter how intelligent and adaptable Yusenga was, the existences in the library were far beyond most humans. One was an outer god, one was a creation of the constellations, and the last one was a reincarnator. In addition, the owner of the library, the fourth wall, was an unknown existence. Please don't be too hard on Yusenga SSI. She is a good person. That depends on Yusenga. For now, I was forced to believe in Yusenga. She might not have the Ways of Survival cheat like me, but she was someone who survived this far. Thus, I was sure she would do well in the library. There is one thing that I'd like to ask you. No. Just listen to me. No. We used to be pretty friendly. Think about when we just arrived in the demon world. At that time, we talked to each other a lot. It was on ly that ti me. You can talk a lot in the future. Kim Dokja does not see a re about what I say. I felt the hidden meaning and was lost for words. Come to think of it, the fourth wall always talked to me. There was the style it borrowed from Ways of Survival and even the fourth wall's peculiar way of talking. Still, it was true that I didn't respond properly to it. Daki by who can't talk is better than Kim Dokja. Are you talking about Bayu? The fourth wall didn't answer. It was a bit of a confusing situation for me. You. This guy also felt lonely. Did it feel joy, sorrow, or pain? I never thought about it this way before and suddenly felt strange. In the future, I will talk to you more often. I'm sorry. Bah. Calm down. I promise. Real ly? Really? The fourth wall thought of something and said, but Kim Dokja isn't enough. What? Give me a friendie. What did this mean? A friend, how to give the wall a friend. I thought about it and something suddenly flashed through my mind. Don't tell me? As if to prove my feelings, the fourth wall opened its mouth. Kim Dokja should either the law st wall. I have to gather more stories. Yu Jonghyuk stared at the sky, obsessively thinking about it while munching on a lemon candy. He didn't like candy, but there was no substitute for it right now. It would be nice if there was dumplings, but now wasn't the time to enjoy that type of taste. No, the speed at which I gathered the stories is already fast enough. The important thing is to train the stories themselves. Maybe it was time to go to that island now. The island that Kyrios and his teacher had visited. Yu Jonghyuk clenched his fists as he envisioned future plans. Your sponsor is dissatisfied with your recent progress. He suddenly felt his sponsor's gaze. Recently, his sponsor had been expressing feelings more often. A sponsor who had been only non-existent in the last 3 regressions. Yu Jong-hyuk asked with a frown. What is there to complain about? Your sponsor wants you to take proactive actions. The words touched something deep in Yu Jong-hyuk's mind. Certainly, his life had changed a lot since the last round. Needless to say, it was since he met Kim Dok-jae. I don't know who he is. He founded a nebula with a man whose identity was unknown. Kim Dok-jae isn't a prophet. Yu Jong-hyuk was immersed in his thoughts, as if solving the homework he had put off. Yet he knows information about the future. The more he thought about it, the stranger things were. Why wasn't this person in the last round? He had an idea originally, but now he wasn't convinced. That calm and meticulous guy didn't even pass the first scenario in the last round? The doubts started to multiply and overflow. An unknown power is putting a stop to your imagination. There was some dizziness, and Yu Jong-hyuk frowned. Again. Yu Jong-hyuk didn't know why, but his head hurt whenever he thought about Kim Dok-jae. In particular, whenever he wondered about Kim Dok-jae's identity. Yu Jong-hyuk, what are you doing? He looked back and saw Han Soo-young with a lemon candy in her mouth. Yu Jong-hyuk asked, Kim Dok-jae still isn't awake? Not yet. He is a lazy bastard. It is due to the aftermath of the probability storm, so I wouldn't call him lazy. It is strange that it hasn't happened until now. The 2 people stood there leisurely and looked up at the sky of the industrial complex. A cool breeze blew past their collar. It was peaceful, but not a peace that would last a long time. One person collapsed and the life or death of the other person was unknown. However, this time was uncommon for the industrial complex. Yu Jong-hyuk spotted Han Soo-young staring at a distance place with half-hooded eyes. He suddenly wanted to ask something. Would this person know what I'm curious about? Just like Kim Dok-jae, she appeared as a variable in this round. Whenever Yu Jong-hyuk saw her carrying on an unknown conversation with Kim Dok-jae, he had a feeling that this woman and Kim Dok-jae. At this moment, an eerie sensation swept down his back. Yu Jong-hyuk. At almost the same time Han Soo-young spoke, Yu Jong-hyuk pulled out the black demon sword. Han Soo-young was unwrapping the bandages around her hand. In the distant sky, something was flying here at a fast pace. It was the presence of an uninvited guest. The presence left a dark glow in the sky as it slowly sank to the ground. Magic power flowed from Yu Jong-hyuk's tense right hand. Asmodeus. What is going on? The Demon King Asmodeus laughed. I came to meet the Demon King of Salvation. Where is he? Why are you looking for him? I have a lot to say as a seeker of the end. Seeker of the end? Talk to me and get lost. Ah, really annoying. Asmodeus might have been an ally for a short time, but Yu Jong-hyuk fundamentally didn't believe in him. Moreover, there was the grudge from the last round. Nasty air currents flowed as Yu Jong-hyuk and Asmodeus' statuses collided with each other. I didn't think you would be this strong. Asmodeus' eyes widened when Yu Jong-hyuk didn't budge a single bit. Obvious malice lay below Asmodeus' playful expression. Regressor, Yu Jong-hyuk. Asmodeus gave a demon-like smile as he came closer to Yu Jong-hyuk. The painted red lips of the Demon King opened as if to commit a taboo. Have you ever heard of 3 ways to survive in a ruined world? Chapter 346. Good and Evil. Part 2. Asmodeus continued speaking. 3 ways to survive in a ruined world. Among the incarnations, it is a story known as the Revelation. Have you heard of it? At Asmodeus' words, the pale-faced Han Soo-young stepped forward. You. What the hell did you come here to do? Asmodeus just ignored Han Soo-young and studied Yu Jong-hyuk's expression. An unknown power is putting a brake to incarnation Yu Jong-hyuk's imagination. Sparks once again appeared in Yu Jong-hyuk's vicinity. In fact, Asmodeus' words sounded like this to Yu Jong-hyuk. Have you heard of 3 to in a ruined? Yu Jong-hyuk got a headache as he asked. What did you say? Asmodeus sighed. You aren't yet allowed. What are you talking about? Well, it isn't a big deal. Then, based on this situation, the Demon King of Salvation is still asleep. Asmodeus grinned and glanced at the factory. Unfortunately, I will go back for today. Please tell this to the Demon King of Salvation. Thanks to what he has done, the balance of good and evil is shaken. Jackals will emerge to take advantage of that imbalance. Wait, just wait. Yu Jonghyuk pressed a hand to his temple and called out to Asmodeus, who had turned around. He replied without turning around. Regressor Yu Jonghyuk. Do you want to know the truth of the world? The truth? If you want to know, come to the Seekers of the End. With these words, Asmodeus' body disappeared. Han Suyong quickly approached the staggering Yu Jonghyuk. Yu Jonghyuk. Are you okay? Yu Jonghyuk? Yu Jonghyuk didn't answer. He seemed to be thinking about something and was drowning in great anguish. Yu Jonghyuk stared at the air for a while, before shaking off Han Suyong and staggering somewhere. Hey! Where are you going? Despite Han Suyong's shouts, Yu Jonghyuk didn't answer. Han Suyong shouted once again, Kim Dokja hasn't woken up yet. It has nothing to do with him. Yu Jonghyuk triggered Red Phoenix Shunpa and disappeared. The only one left at the entrance of the factory was Han Suyong. Han Suyong looked around and was lost in thought as she chewed on the candy bar. Is it time for the filtering to be lifted and information about ways of survival to begin? It happened while Kim Dokja wasn't present and Han Suyong couldn't hide her nervousness. She couldn't guess what type of disaster would occur if Yu Jonghyuk learned about ways of survival now. Moreover, how did the Demon Kings learn about the existence of ways of survival? Han Suyong watched the sky to the south and spat the candy on the ground. Something had to be done before Kim Dokja woke up. Yu Senga was able to fully enjoy the experience of being a newcomer as she organized the books. In the last 2 days, Yu Senga learned a lot from her 3 seniors. From the identity of this library to the identities of her seniors. Please organize it slowly. Once Kim Dokja starts thinking unnecessary things, it gets messy. The theater master, simulation. It will take a long time to clean up with only 2 hands. I wanted a successor with many hands to replace me. The outer god, eater of dreams. Do you want me to teach you 1,000 hands of Avalokitesvara? The reincarnator, Nirvana Mobius. All the seniors were slightly odd, but they were generally kind to her. It would have been nice if they were part of Minosoft's human resources team. Shelves covered with countless books. They were all the books Kim Dokja had read or forgotten. Most of the books were one novel. 3 Ways to Survive in a Ruined World. Yu Senga liked books and quickly identified her situation and the processes of her new job. This was a place for Kim Dokja and what this story meant to Kim Dokja. Once she realized, Yu Senga felt faint despair and sympathy at the same time. However, Yu Senga didn't show it. She knew that sometimes not expressing it was a way of taking care of the wounded. Instead, she thought about other things. If it developed like the original. The following Earth scenario could have several implications. Among them, the most likely one. Work hard. Yu Senga. Yu Senga raised her head at the voice heard from the air. I will work hard. She felt like she was living a rented life, but there was a possibility for her to live again. Fortunately, the general manager of this place was a cute boss. Thank you for the job. I really like it here. Bah. I'm serious. You sang all Likes books? I like it very much. WH a book? For example, Lord of the Rings. H.O. Luckily, the cute boss seemed quite interested in her. She decided to ask about something she was curious about. Then can I ask one question? WH at? What exactly is the 4th wall? A giggle filled the entire library. I protect Kim Dokja. Protect him? Kim Dokja would die without me. It was a voice filled with conviction. THN Kim Dok-ja did something stupid. The entire library trembled faintly. It is hard a recent ly because of you. Because of me? My work is leak ing out. The sound of sparks pointed to a certain direction in the library. The fourth wall was indicating to a hole bigger than Yusenga's fist. Even though I block at it, it is destroyed by Kim Dok-ja. The cover of an old book was blocking the hole. It seemed to be a temporary action urgently carried out. Yusenga carefully examined the cover of the book. The hold, is going to the outside? Yes. Yusenga pondered the hole for a while, before making a playful expression. Fourth wall. I have a good idea. I slept comfortably. It was as deep as when I had been forcibly confined. It felt like fluffy feathers were wrapped around my head. Or maybe someone came into my head and cleared up all the uncomfortable worries. Dokja Sasai, it is a big deal. Dokja Sasai. A mysterious voice rang in my head and I got out of bed in a startled manner. A hospital room with no one inside. My skin was tanned after being burnt by the sparks. I looked around but there was no one by the bed. None of the party members could be seen. Then who woke me up? I decided to check the situation. I was still weak from the aftermath of the probability storm, but I was capable of walking. Yet the feeling was strange. An unpleasant aura was flowing through the corridor of the ward. There was a foreboding feeling that something would break. A moment later, I realized there was a loud commotion outside the factory. I opened a window in the corridor and people's shouts entered my ears. Free soul. What? We will no longer be ruled by the Demon King. Dictator of the factory, stand down. Open all the stigmas and skills to the public. A crowd was gathered beyond the walls of the factory. They were the incarnations from Seoul and the surrounding areas. I saw the composition of the forces that had come and immediately knew what type of people they were. Most of them were people who failed in the scenario. There were also some key figures from the alliances. This is a legitimate struggle. Wake up the Demon King of Salvation and the evil company, Kim Dok-ja's company, who preempts the scenarios and monopolizes the capital. Preempt the scenario and monopolize the capital. They wouldn't say that if they knew how hard it was for us to get through the scenarios. Inside the walls were the confused party members. The first one I heard was Gong Pilda's voice. Should I just shoot them? Ajusi, are you crazy? Most of them are novice incarnations. Everyone. Don't do this. It is a misunderstanding. Lee Jaihai and Lee Hyunsung came forward to yell at the people, but communication wasn't possible from the beginning. Shut up. Open the gates. Share the items. There is no such thing as items. Share the coins. We aren't gangsters. An incitement of this level wasn't something that ordinary humans could do. Every alliance on the Korean peninsula was taken over by my party members, and the Gyeonggi alliance, which was the largest stumbling block, was destroyed by Yu Jong-hyuk not long ago. The fact that so many people gathered together meant it was likely that someone outside had intervened. Then where were Yu Jong-hyuk and Han Soo-young? What caused this division in the factory? It seemed there were many things I didn't know. Many constellations are interested in what is happening in the industrial complex. I had to stop this before it became bigger. I was calculating things in my head and about to move towards the party members when I heard a Dakibi's voice. Revolution. I am someone who advocates for democracy. An ominous feeling rushed through me. Since a probability of this scale has been gathered, it is possible to open up a scenario? Sub-scenario, Seoul Revolution, category, sub. Difficulty? Clear conditions, Seoul is currently under the leadership of Kim Dok-ja's company. Incarnations have emerged to resist the dominance of the nebula. Many constellations want both groups to fight for control of Seoul. Time limit, none. Compensation, 300,000 coins. Failure. The moment I read the scenario, I had a nasty feeling. Kim Dokja's company had accumulated 2 giant stories and was now well known in the star stream. However, the nebula's representative, Yu Jonghyuk, was absent. Someone was deliberately trying to hit us. There is no failure condition. Should I try it? 300,000 coins. Let's make some money. Lee Jaihai shouted with frustration. Stupid, it isn't an amount large enough to be divided. The moment I thought it wouldn't work, someone came forward. It was Young Hee-won. Young Hee-won used the speech amplifier skill and her voice was filled with great vigor. Don't hide your representatives. The people climbing the walls were aghast at Young Hee-won's words. There will only be senseless sacrifices if you wage war here. Wouldn't it be better to decide victory in a battle between representatives? Young Hee-won watched the people and continued. If we lose, we will hand over the factory as you wish. Hee-won SSI. Why promise such a thing? Lee Hyun-sung stared at her with confusion while Young Hee-won calmly explained. These people, most of them haven't passed the 10th scenario yet. What will happen if a real war occurs here? Lee Hyun-sung shut his mouth at Young Hee-won's words. Rather than talking, the party members stared at each other in silence. How much time passed? One by one, they started nodding. Hee-won SSI is right. Lee Hyun-sung, Lee Jaihai, Shin Yu-sung, and Lee Gil-young. Gong Pilda looked unhappy but everyone agreed this was the best way to minimize the sacrifice of the citizens. The Dakibi saw the progress from the air and laughed. Good. Will this event be a representative exhibition? At the same time, the contents of the sub-scenario were changed. Sub-scenario, Seoul Revolution is updated. Through the representatives of both forces, the owner of Seoul will be determined. Young Hee-won yelled at the people beyond the walls. The representatives, come up now. This side is ready. It was a confident smile. Maybe Young Hee-won's determination stemmed from the faithful time she spent training. The people who had been talking about revolution and the spring of Seoul suddenly fell silent when Young Hee-won came out so confidently. Then their shouts became louder. Our representative. Where are you? Come out quickly. Fight and win. Find our rights. Yet no one showed up. It was natural. Those who raised the crowd wanted to take advantage of the irrational incitement. However, the meaning disappeared if the story flowed like this. The anxious incarnations cried out, "Who?" I was a bit thrilled when I saw the ranks of the crowd crumbling. It was great to see who the party members had grown in the 3 years without me. Perhaps Young Hee-won aimed for this from the beginning. She learned to maintain her sense of justice while being pragmatic. She was already one of the strongest in Seoul. She had no chance of losing in a one-on-one fight against an incarnation. The Dakibi in the air stroked his chin. Kim Dokja's company has 2 representatives missing. Who will come forward? The party members raised their hands at the same time. However, Young Hee-won was first. I will do it. Hee-won SSI. Don't worry. You know that I'm strong. Certainly, Young Hee-won was the strongest in our nebula apart from Yu Jonghyuk. Lee Hyun-sung, Lee Gil-young, Shin Yu-sung, and Gong Pildu, none of them could surpass Young Hee-won when it came to individual combat power. In addition, Young Hee-won seemed to notice something. This was one of the reasons why Young Hee-won should be a representative. I will go. The reason for this was the 3 incarnations approaching through the crowd. One of their faces was especially familiar. This guy. The man who passed over the walls opened his mouth. I will be a representative. Chapter 347. Good and Evil. Part 3. The man with the imposing atmosphere was the one who confronted me last time. He was the one who ran away from me during the last confinement. The leader of the Gyeonggi Alliance, one of the 10 evils Cho Jinchul. In this round, I thought that our party members had become too strong, yet this guy came back. Young Hee-won smiled and pulled out her sword. You? Despite saying this, Young Hee-won didn't relax her guard at all. It was because she read the unusual energy flowing from Cho Jinchul's body. It was demonic energy. Young Hee-won's expression hardened and filled with killing intent. While clearing Dark Castle, it was only in name, but she was the one who cleared the tense scenario by killing the Demon King. There was no way she couldn't know. You were eaten by a Demon King. It was the aura of a Demon King. The laughing Cho Jinchul already wasn't Cho Jinchul. He was a man swallowed up by demonic energy. The Demon King, Monarch of the Snake Hell, has revealed his existence. Monarch of the Snake Hell. One of the demon world's 72 demon kings. He was the master of the 72nd demon realm, Andromalius. In addition, the other two incarnation bodies were emitting similar energy. The Demon King, thinker of lies and secrets, has revealed his existence. The Demon King, performer of musical instruments, has revealed his existence. 3 Demon Kings appeared through their own power. Even so, Young Hee-won remained calm after knowing her opponents were Demon Kings. Is it a one-on-one fight? Of course, it will be one-on-one. Fearless incarnation. Her hair raised from the true voice, but Young Hee-won laughed. Yes, I wanted to try it one day. How great a Demon King is. There was deep anger contained in her voice. It might be Uriel's influence, or it might be the accumulated anger towards me. In any case, Young Hee-won looked like she was doing well. The fight has begun. In fact, it was a confidence I could understand. The opponents might be Demon Kings, but Young Hee-won didn't need to back down. In addition, there was the state of being possessed through proxy. If she stepped back here, the Archangel's pride would be damaged. A red light filled Young Hee-won's eyes as the Sword of Judgment moved through the air. The trajectory of the sword moved through the air like a net. There wasn't a chance to avoid it, and Cho Jinchul's arm flew through the air. You dare. The surprised Andromalius let out a roar, but Young Hee-won's sword showed no hesitation or fear. Andromalius was baffled by the arrogant style. It was a swordsmanship that didn't look at anything and only focused on killing. The incarnations who only went through ordinary scenarios couldn't afford to go against her. Blood poured out once again as there was a deep cut on Cho Jinchul's right thigh. The gap in skill was overwhelming. The crowd's mouths dropped open and the party members felt admiration. This was the real power of the Judge of Evil, Young Hee-won. The character, Young Hee-won, is preparing to activate Judgment Time. For the finish, Young Hee-won gathered her strength. It was the combination of Judgment Time and Hell Flame's ignition. Young Hee-won was trying to press this representative exhibition with overwhelming force. However, at the same time, Andromalius increased his synchronization rate with Cho Jinchul and started the descent in earnest. Cho Jinchul's cut-off arm soared up with demonic energy and the injury restored with magic power. This was the power of the 72nd Demon King. Your tricks end here. A fist struck Young Hee-won's blade like a lightning bolt. The Sword of Judgment shook and Young Hee-won immediately took a few steps back. Cho Jinchul pursued Young Hee-won and continued to attack. Andromalius prepared for damage to his probability and incarnation body as he increased the synchronization rate. A threatening power emerged from Cho Jinchul's body. No matter how strong Young Hee-won was, she couldn't fight against a Demon King by herself without Uriel. In the end, Young Hee-won was thrown through the air from the power struggle. Cook, damn it. I couldn't understand the situation. To be exact, it was strange that Andromalius made such a choice. Not all Demon Kings were in the same class. By doing this, the scales of probability would move and Archangel Uriel would be able to intervene. Once she came, the Demon Kings would turn into ash in the blink of an eye. Nevertheless, the fact that they were earnestly dealing with Young Hee-won showed they had something they believed in. The activation of Judgment Time has been forcibly cancelled. The thing they believed in was quickly revealed. Uriel? Uriel didn't respond and Judgment Time and Hell Flame's ignition weren't activated properly. Putting aside Hell Flame's ignition, it was strange that Judgment Time wasn't activated. Something was wrong with Uriel and the other constellations of the Absolute Good system. Don't tell me? At this moment, I understood how the story was flowing. I understood why the Demon King suddenly made such a move and why they visited my demon realm at this time. Everything suddenly made sense. Kyrios floated in the air and was looking at me. I gazed back at him. I didn't move, despite being able to intervene at any time due to him. Then Kyrios spoke to me. You should do it. I shook my head. It wasn't time yet. If possible, I didn't want to reveal my strength too early. It could backfire if I revealed my power just to win this. Kyrios opened his mouth. This will happen frequently in the future unless you demonstrate your strength. Maybe he was right. The current Kim Dokja's company was rising and the Demon Kings had come to dampen the momentum of our nebula. If we didn't show our strength now, our nebula would seem shallow to other constellations. I sighed and looked up at the air where Baihyung was laughing. He looked like he knew the scenario would turn out this way from the beginning. Maybe Baihyung had been calculating many things. It was why he only opened this scenario after I woke up. Really, he was a damned Akibi. Go ahead. Show me the status of a Demon King. I jumped out of the factory onto the battlefield. There was a sound of surprise from the party members as I grabbed Young Heewon's shoulder from behind. Heewon SSI. Dokja SSI? You don't have to fight here. I'm not stopping you because you are weak. I went forward with Young Heewon behind me. The constellation Demon King of Salvation is opening his status. The 3 Demon Kings were watching me. I used my true voice. All Demon Kings. Did you choose the wrong playground? I'm sure you have something to say to me, but say it and get out of here. Andromalia's face distorted at my true voice. Cheeky guy. Do you know why we came? I nodded. The reason the Demon Kings came here was obvious. Since Earth's incarnations had exceeded the 60th scenario, it was time for the event to be held. Perhaps these guys had come to invite me. The fact that Young Heewon couldn't use Uriel's power was related to this. The Demon Kings giggled as if everything so far was just amusement. Be honored that your elders have personally visited you. Come with us. We have to prepare right now. We'll be leaving straight away. I smiled and nodded. You came here to pick me up and I should go. By the way, I looked back at Young Heewon, who was wiping her bloody nose, and the party members supporting her. They hadn't sufficiently rested from the aftermath of Gigantomachia. I think it will be hard to just send you away. What bullshit is that? If you are a Demon King, you should be worthy. Isn't that right? The Nebula Kim Dokja's company is requesting a representative change. The Demon King of Salvation has become the new representative. The Demon Kings realized my intentions and were astonished. You want to fight us now? Do you know what happens when a Demon King and Demon King fight? I know very well. I looked at each of the Demon Kings and answered. The Demon King of Salvation has applied for a Demon King promotion. A Demon King promotion. It was a fierce duel between Demon Kings who competed for rankings and honor. A promotion? Are you crazy? It might be true. Whether it was Demon King or Constellation, I was tired of being dragged around by these bastards. Do you agree or not? They're watching. The Demon King Immeasurable Austerity is interested in the battle between the low-grade ones. The Demon King Duke of Everywhere says this is a premature fight. The Demon King Monarch of Stars and Logic is pointing out the spelling of the Duke of Everywhere. The Demon King Devil of Lust and Fury is making an interested expression. Countless Demon Kings were watching the confrontation. I was the 73rd Demon King, the lowest of the Demon Kings. It would be embarrassing if they refused my challenge. The 3 Demon Kings would be formidable, but I wasn't afraid at all. Rather, I was composed as I watched them. Maybe Yu Jonghyuk also felt like this. Andromalius made a humiliated expression as he opened his mouth. I accept the challenge. However, I shook my head. You are out. I'm not applying for you. What? Andromalius, you are the 72nd ranked. I pointed to another demon king behind him. I am applying for the 67th demon king, performer of musical instruments Amdusias. If I was going to fight, then it was better to kill the guy with the higher ranking. Andromalius' face turned red at my words, and he rushed over. The fist that contained the formidable stories of the 72nd demon realm flew towards me. The giant story snake that crouches for 1,000 years has begun. Clearly, their low ranking didn't mean they had bad stories when they had lived for a long time. Nevertheless, they didn't know. I have lived a much shorter history than them, but it was also much fiercer. The giant storied demon world spring has started the story. The giant storied torch that swallowed the myth is revealing its crouching teeth. The next moment, blue-white lightning filled the area. It was electrification through bookmark. The blue-white magic power was astounding. A faint smile was seen on Kirio's face. There isn't a big gap between the character and your level. Your understanding of the character has greatly enhanced your skills. The exclusive skill Electrification LV23 plus 13 is activated. It was a real hassle to use electrification without miniaturization. Your current body configuration is different from that of the character. Your status has overcome the penalty of the physical conditions. Andromalius' fist stopped in front of my nose. He stared at me with astonishment before his eyes shifted to his stomach. Half of his body was gone. I pulled my sword out of his body and declared. First, the 72nd place.